Yesterday, we re-ranked the rookie running backs, put them in order into tiers, and now we're going to do the same with the wide receivers, ranking them up after we've done some rookie drafts to get the feel of things. Now the dust is settled, and now it's time to take a look at this wide receiver class for the millionth time. Something you into, you're in your rookie draft, you need help with that, building dynasty teams, I'm your guy. Make sure you smash that subscribe button right now. But let's go ahead and look at the tier maker. Here we are. We're going to rate the wide receivers like we've done every week all off season long. And here we go. In the tiers, we got A, B, C, D1, and D2. Pretty much once we got to the bottom, the values ain't too much different. But let's go ahead and start jumping into these rankings right here. So tier A. Last video I did, which was about a week or two ago, I had these guys split up a little bit differently, but I'm going to go ahead and throw these guys into one tier because of how I'm feeling in my drafts, how I'm feeling in real life drafts when I'm playing with these players, off to looking with the ADP here. Jack Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, and Zay Flowers. Main reason why I got these guys together is no matter where I'm at in the draft, I have a good chance of getting one. Unless I'm like at the 110 to 112 range or 109 to 112 range in that back portion. I was able to snag Zay Flowers at the 109. However, whenever I'm drafting, and say Quentin Johnston goes a little early, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Jack Smith-Njigba is usually the first one, I don't really care because I know one of the others are going to be there. I'm not bummed out. And I got that feeling. And I'm a guy that likes to diversify his portfolio a lot. I diversify a lot. If I feel like I'm getting too many of one player, I'll start going to the next player, the other player. And these four guys are just in that diversification pocket of where I like to switch things out at. And I'm all over the board in my drafts. And when it comes to drafts, when it comes to my gut feelings, I like all these guys. And I see the red flags in all their situations and their nuances and everything else. So it really puts them together in a close spectrum here. Really, Jack Smith-Njigba is technically my one. However, when I'm drafting, it's like, all right, I'm cool with Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston. And if it's later, Zay Flowers. I'm not going to pull Zay Flowers ahead of any of these guys usually because I'm in enough drafts where I'm in the back end. He falls to me, so I got enough shares, so I'm cool with that. I'm also playing with ADP. So do hit how you want. But really, when I look at these guys, I feel like they fell in good spots for them. Like Jack Smith-Njigba doesn't have to be the wide receiver one on his new team. You got DK Metcalf there. You got Tyler Lockett. So really, he can transition well, especially he's come back from an injury here. Missed majority of last season. Jordan Addison, like I said after the combine, once we got the highway speed and all that stuff, that I did not want him to be the alpha. He doesn't have to be. We got Justin Jefferson there. Quentin Johnston. It's going to a team with a gunslinger quarterback, high-volume offense, and a good division here. Older wide receivers with him on the depth chart who are often injured. Good situation for him, especially in the next few years. Zay Flowers is a wide receiver the Ravens typically had prior, and Marquise Brown kind of fills that role. You kind of see how he can be productive, or at least off and on with volatile production. And I feel like it's going to be hard for him to bottom out on you. He's nuanced, and he's good with getting air yards. I can see where they can miss and hit on all these guys or not be up to par if you're shooting for upside. I can see that with all of them, and I also see where they can be good. That's why it's an A tier, not an S tier. I deleted that S off there because really it's not a studly wide receiver class. It's good at the top. You got some good prospects. But let's roll over here to B tier. Let's take a look at this. Jonathan Mingo. Not getting much Jonathan Mingo in my drafts. I'm not going to lie to you because really where he's going at drafts, very late first round, early second round, mid-second round range. Sometimes the back half in the second. We did that ADP video. He did fall in the back half of the second, early third in some drafts. The thing about that is I'm leaning running back. Like I say, one of my rules of thumb is lean into the strength of the draft class. The strength is running back still. Even though a lot of these running backs fell in the draft, you're catching some running backs at value in the second round that I'm pulling the triggers on. And I'm going after those guys. Which means some of these wide receivers in this B tier, I'm not really getting. But Jonathan Mingo, when he is in that upper part of the second rounds, when he's there, I'm kind of intrigued, kind of not. I am getting some Marvin Mims. In my home league draft, he just went in the first round. So someone's been watching my videos in that. But Marvin Mims, though, mid to back half of the second round, that price range is where I'm willing to dip back into the wide receiver spot. And then Rashee Rice here. If he goes early second, I'm probably still looking at the running backs. Some of them are falling in the early second round. We did the ADP video. We looked at that. Sometimes they go late first, sometimes early second. Sometimes these running backs cascade in the second. It just happens. Rashee Rice really depends on where the running backs are at. I'm not going out my way to get him. He's not following me a lot, but he is sometimes. Jaden Reed, I'm getting a good bit of. Back end of the second round. My home league draft, he went a little higher. These guys are watching my videos. They're pumping the guys up I've been putting videos out on, so I'm going to have to give out some more videos out to trick them up because I know what they're doing. Jaden Reed, though, I'm catching in the back half of the second round a lot. Mainly, the running backs are drying out. All the running back targets are done, and now it's just the day 3 backs left, or the back-end day 3 backs, and then Jaden Reed's there. Production profile is pretty decent. Situation's not the greatest, but also it's ambiguous, so he could step it up. Josh Downs, round 3 guy. I like his prospect profile. I'm getting him a good bit, too. Pretty much where he goes in the draft. He falls in a good spot for me, and I'm picking him up. And I feel like I'm switching from him, too, a lot, honestly, because I feel like I can pick him up later. The reason why I feel like I can pick him up later is because he's on the Colts. They got Richardson there. There's going to be a delay in development when you got 2 guys trying to develop with each other. Also, he's not the wide receiver 1 there. We don't know the volume. There's a good chance I might be able to pick him up cheap later, maybe with something else. Maybe want to pivot from another player or something. I might be able to catch Josh Downs later. I'm thinking of that in drafts as well. That's what I'm thinking about the B tier. These rankings aren't going 1 for 1 because really, I like to tier off. I like to diversify and tit for tat with these players, but these guys are grouped close together in my drafts. I'm getting a lot of Marvin Mims here. I'm getting a lot of Jaden Reed here in my drafts. Rashee Rice, I'm catching some. Jonathan Mingo, hardly at all. Hardly at all. Josh Downs, I'm catching some, but I'm also pivoting away as well because I feel like I can catch them cheaper later while I read the tea leaves of what's going on with this team. Going on to Tier C, I'm just going to pull him up here now. Kayshon Boutte, I don't want to leave drafts without him. I want him in drafts. I want him on my teams. I want to try and get him. Nailing him in the 3rd round. I don't care. I'm shooting for that upside. That 3rd round, though, the odds of hitting with any of these players that are left aren't very good. Like, you're going to go tit for tat with these players, but most of these guys, Tier C, D, D2, most of them are going to be busts. Most of them are going to have a hit rate of like 5 to 10%. And I'm really shooting for upside here. I'm shooting for the guy that probably would have been in the A tier if he never got hurt. That's what I'm doing. I'm shooting for that, seeing what materializes. Cedric Tillman, round 3 pick, going to the Browns. Very sticky situation here, but I can see where he can catch on later. Again, another wide receiver that I might be able to catch cheap here. I can see this team increasing the volume in the passing game. I can really see some attrition in the offense. Really, that he needs to develop. He really needs to really perform in camp. And same with Jalen Hyatt. This is a very messy wide receiver group. Very messy guy. And he was drafted in the 3rd round. He got passed on for 2 rounds over, too. So the NFL told us that, man, he's not the best talent, but he's got a little something there. Let's pull the trigger here. That's something you want to look at, but they got some wide receivers there. It's a very messy wide receiver room. I feel like you can catch them for cheaper later as well. I feel like you can catch them for a discount sometime mid-next year. Going to D1 and D2 as well, because really they're together. They're together, and it's really the D1 guys I kind of want a little bit more, but I'm just diversifying between the two, and really I'm going to throw guys back and forth, so I might put someone in D1 and then throw them back to D2, and if you scroll past this part of the video once I put them in D1, you're going to miss out because I guarantee I'm going to throw some guys around on you. Puka Nacua, he's going to ambiguous depth chart here where he could get some opportunity later, and that's all I'm looking for out of these guys. How is this guy going to get opportunity? How is he going to play? How can he perform? For me, Tank Dell, good route runner. CJ Stroud wanted him. The thing about that, though, we're going to have to wait for this offense to develop. What are these Texans going to do? We also got some other guys there that could eat as well. We do have some targets to spread around here, but what's going to happen with this team? A.T. Perry, good ball skills, good hands, good highlight film. Parker Washington, we are drafting Trevor Lawrence here. We're drafting that offense, going to be in the slot. We do have some older wide receivers there. There could be some transition, but he's going to have to play well right out of the gate. Charlie Jones, he's going to be a sneaky guy right now because he's going to a depth chart that looks like he's got some horses there, but we might have some contract situations here in a bit, especially with Tyler Boyd. I'm looking at him because overall in the future we might be seeing Jones in the slot with this team. They drafted him in round 4, had a big season at Purdue. Older wide receiver that we got to take a look at here for the long term. Might be a guy you catch off the taxi squad, catch off waiver wires here later. Might be a cheap get later. I don't expect him to be a huge performer, but might be a guy here taking snaps here in the next few years. That's why the Bengals draft him. You're hearing a lot of talks from the Bengals radio news outlets about him being a potential guy later, a few years down the road. I like Trey Palmer. I'm going to keep him up here. I was figuring where to put him at D1, D2, but I like the speed. I like the ball skills. I like the recruiting profile coming out of college. I like him a lot. Trey Palmer's a guy I don't want to sleep on, but realistically, the odds are against him. Michael Wilson here. DeAndre Hopkins still there. We still got Marquise Brown. I really want to see how he develops. I want to see what this team does. I'm not overly excited about him. I don't think this is the greatest situation for him. I don't think this is the greatest offense for him. We don't know how long Kyler Murray's going to be there, or he could be there forever. Who knows? But they did add some draft picks this year. That could be a change. They could be having some transitions here. We got a new coaching staff as well, so we got to see what's going on. I like Dontavian Wicks for how he is, but he's not very nuanced. He's not the most nuanced player coming off the route. He's not the greatest route runner out there. Good hands, though. Good athleticism, but also not high-end athleticism either. But I do like him. He's also in a wide receiver depth chart with some guys who are young and up-and-coming as well, so he's going to have to fight for a spot. I'm moving to Xavier Hutchinson up here. Late round guy, but a guy I've always been intrigued by. Good length, good specimen. He's also been productive. Justin Shorter. He was a Devy guy, a huge Devy guy like 3 or 4 years ago when he was at Penn State, and then nothing materialized out of him. He's a bigger dude with some athleticism. The Bills are very ambiguous on the back end of that wide receiver depth chart. Maybe he can get you some reps, some snaps here. Maybe some targets. Maybe get you salivating for more going into next year. You got to look at. Maybe you want to pay attention to him. Let's move him up here just to say that. Maybe. You don't want to forget about him, but I don't want to bet on him either. But you don't want to forget about him. There's just something about him. I just don't want to put any bets on him, but there's something about that. But those are my rankings right now, tier maker. Pretty much going off how I've been feeling off my drafts. That's how I wanted to do my rankings this time around instead of going straight analytical with you guys. I wanted to go off feel with how I've been drafting, how I've been looking at these guys to keep things going with how I'm actually playing with these players, so you just get things on the real with me, so you get actual rankings instead of me just going one for one. And I'm also a guy, when I have a cluster of players, I diversify a lot, so that's why they're not one for one in the rankings. Literally, if they're in a tier, they are together, and I'm mixing and matching and playing around with it, because that's just how I do things. If I'm buying beer, I'm just switching it up. Different brands, you don't know what I'm going to get. Same thing when I'm in the draft, when I'm with these clusters and tiers of players, you don't know what I'm going to draft, so don't try and figure me out, because you're never going to do so. Make sure you smash that subscribe button on the way out. It's only going to help you build your dynasty teams, draft your rookie drafts, and everything else. I want to thank you for watching. More player clips coming. OTAs are starting to fire up. We had some come out today. I'm going to see if more comes out to make them a little better for you guys, but if not, I'm going to have them rolling out tonight. I want to thank you for watching, though. I'll catch you on the next video.